There is sight and there is vision, and they are not necessarily the same thing. They say you see memories in the mind's eye, but are memories really visual, or some sense all of their own? Certainly my memories of childhood in Derry feel very visual.
When I was young, I thought the Craigan estate was the biggest estate in the world, you know. 15,000 people or something like that lived in the estate, and houses seemed to go on forever. There was a great sense of community there. A lot of big families, like we had 12 children in our house, and Bradley's next door had something the same, and the Campbells across the street something the same. So there was a load of big families that lived there, and all around the same age. So there was a lot of young boys and girls out playing in the street. I'm not sure at what point I realised there was troubles. You know, I remember there was a growing sense of troubles. It was incredible to watch it, you know, just to watch that whole spectacle. It was all new, and then see the army and their visors and their riot gear. You know, it was just an awesome sight to watch, you know, as a young boy. I have to say that I didn't get a sense of fear. I just got a sense of excitement. There was really unusual things happening, and there you were in the middle of it. And then you had the emergence of the IRA and all that, you know, and we used to play Army and IRA men then, you know. Instead of cowboys and Indians, we were IRA men and British soldiers. So, I mean, it's all pretty amazing in a way, but in other ways, you know, it's scary now to think back on it, you know.
Perhaps the reason why my memories of childhood are so visual is because that's the last time I ever saw the Craigan, with its families, its houses, and its armoured cars. It was the last time I ever saw anything.
June 2005. Children in Crossfire, the charity founded by Richard Moore in 1996, is hosting a gala fundraising dinner in Belfast's Europa Hotel.
All right, my man.
Hi, all right, hey. Good on, good to see you.
Okay?
All right, great time. Lennon just left me there. Children in Crossfire is what's commonly known as a relief and development organisation, third world organisation.
Is it good, yeah?
So they tell me. Poverty is not about charity, it's about justice. And it's trying to convey that message back home, that people in Africa and Asia and South America only want a fair crack of the whip.
Cheers.
Cheers, cheers, cheers.
Cheers, darling.
I really believe in what I do. I enjoy it. And somebody somewhere says, I don't know who said it, but in every act of generosity, there's an element of selfishness. I have one here, but... And the selfish thing for me is, I get enormous pleasure out of my work. What could be better than actually being involved in a job that changes people's lives? Tonight is a very special night for Children in Crossfire, because this is our first major event in Belfast. The reason why I'm so much involved in it all is because I'm blind. And I lost my eyesight 33 years ago from being shot by a rubber bullet on my way home from school when I was 10 years of age. I'm glad to say that I have never allowed that experience to make me feel better or hinder me in any way. I've managed to get on with my life.
Richard, thanks very much for having us.
Hi, Cheekers, thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. It's really great.
Pleasure.
It's very hard for me to separate what I'm doing now from my life's experience. The person I am, the personality I have, has been all dictated by the fact that I was shot and blinded by a rubber bullet.
You never got a new car, you find new fancy cars, you never knew that, did you?
No, I never
Trying to keep up on neighbours.
I think that who I am and the work that I do is very much dictated by my life's experience. And that life's experience involves being shot. The 4th of May 1972 was just like any other day, and if it hadn't been for the events that transpired that particular day, then it would have been as forgettable as any other day. I remember it to be a nice spring day, sort of sunny day. I went to class as normal. I come home at lunchtime for me dinner or me lunch. What was probably significant that day was our Lily just got a new house in the Glen Road, and my mammy and daddy were letting our Gregory stay off school that day to go and help Lily. And I remember that lunchtime asking, could I be kept off school to go and help as well? And my mother and them says, no, you have to go to school. And that's probably one of the regrets that my mammy would have. So off I went back to school that afternoon. We got out of school about 3:20, and it was the usual sort of carnival atmosphere, everybody running down, out of school, free at last, you know, and all that pent-up energy. There was a police barracks near the school, and protecting that police barracks was an army lookout post. I would never put it past myself or my mates to throw a brick at the army siren away past. You know, that wouldn't have been something that was foreign to any of us, to be honest. On that particular day, I can't remember if I saw the sign or not. I can't even remember if I looked in its general direction. There was nothing significant about that day until I was shot.
I heard the bang, which I knew was a rubber bullet being fired. I was nearly on top of the child before I saw him because he was lying face down, pointing towards the singer. I turned him over and his face was a mass of blood, and I have to admit that my stomach nearly turned over too when I saw him. I couldn't recognize him because of the state of his face, so I decided I would have to get him out of there and somewhere where we could get help.
Somebody help me here quickly, please!
We carried him into the nearest open door, which was the kitchen door of the canteen of St. Joseph's Secondary School. And I said to the women, for God's sake, phone for an ambulance, and they did.
All right there. What's the crack?
34 years on, Richard has a happy marriage and a successful career. His life is characterised by passion, purpose and wit.
Get the buttons, hey?
His work takes him to Africa and South America, and it is often said that for a blind man, he leads a colourful life. But within his blindness, there remains a shadow, a mystery which still haunts him.
I'm not sure when I felt this need to meet the soldier that shot me. I can't pinpoint the day or the time. Even the year, I can't pinpoint really. Because it seems to me as if it's been there almost from the day and hour I was shot.
There are no pancakes, hey?
Sometimes I ask myself the question, as a lot of people ask me, why? Why would I want to meet the soldier that shot me?
So if we head down there, Murray and France will come pick me and you up about 10 to 11 or so?
The most significant thing that's happened to me in my life is being shot. And when you peel back everything from that situation, at the end of the day, it involves two people, and that's me and him. At least that's the way I see it.
Yes, Fran, all right. What's the crack? Dead on, Marty. What's the crack? Dead on, hey? Dead on.
He blinded me.
Good to see you, dead on. This is JR.
He shot me. So we were in an incident together, and I don't know the other half of the incident. I think there's always going to be a curiosity within me about the soldier. You know, it's more than just a curiosity. You know, there is an incomplete aspect in my life. It's important for me to have a name. If I don't get it, I'll live with it, but it would be great if I could, in some way, link with him. Even a telephone call would be great.
In 1972, police and army inquiries were launched into Richard's shooting, but their findings remained secret. With the help of a private investigator, further efforts were made to trace the soldier. After initial hopes, the trail went dead, and his identity remains a mystery. Today, Richard has made peace with his blindness, but new technology is beginning to trouble that fragile accord.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to take a souvenir photograph of your flight. If you would like to know more about the British Airways London Eye, you can purchase one of our guidebooks from the sales point.
The impact of the plastic bullet shattered Richard's retinas. Yet pioneering technology in the field of artificial vision offers the hope that Richard could one day see again. Vision scientists have discovered that we really see with the brain rather than the eye. If the part of Richard's brain that controls vision is intact, then an operation to restore his sight becomes possible.
The dream of giving vision back to people who are blind goes back to the Bible, but it also is a modern dream because we now know what the technological possibilities are. The way to think about artificial vision is really not like the way we see now. Think of artificial vision as a very crude form of a stadium scoreboard. Use single dots to build up a pattern, an image. And that image is going to allow the person to see, to understand what the world around him looks like. So we think that people with artificial vision are going to have to do a tremendous amount of learning to understand what it is they are looking at. On the horizon, we see this possibility. We think that it's possible to do this, and we really want to prove that it is. I mean, this is what human research is all about, of course. We're trying to achieve those goals that we see on the horizon.
Richard has travelled to Scotland to meet Californian Mike May. Mike was blind for 40 years, before his operation to have stem cells implanted on the surface of his eye. This grew a new cornea in place of his damaged one, thus reopening his window on the world.
I was blinded at age 3 from a chemical explosion.
Right.
And it, as it turned out, didn't burn the retina. It burned the surface of the eye, so the whole window to the eye was completely opaque. So I suppose it's like being in a car with the windshield completely covered with snow. But I couldn't see any objects or anything like that. But the good news was that by having that little bit of visual stimulation, over the years it kept my visual cortex intact enough, I suppose, that when I was able to have an operation, some vision could come back.
So straight after the operation, what level eyesight did you have, or what did you first see?
Well, when I went into the doctor the day after the second operation to take the bandages off, the idea was they would just check to make sure the surgery was okay and the dressing was fine. There was no expectation that I would see a day after the operation. The bandages came off, all of this light comes rushing in, and there's people, and my wife is sitting there. My brain is trying to figure out, who is this, what is it? Here's all this information that 5 minutes ago I didn't have, and all of a sudden now I have it. It was pretty exciting. A video on a big monitor of my boys when they were babies. And when children are small, there's a lot of visual communication going on that as a blind parent, you don't tune into that. You get a lot of other things that maybe somebody else doesn't get. But I felt pretty emotional when I got up a couple inches away from that TV screen and saw my children when they were little tiny babies. Seeing dust floating in the air when the sunshine is sparkling off of dust. Sighted people would never think of that being anything important. But because it's 100% visual, I find it fascinating. Those are the things that are most significant in having vision. I was fine without them, but now that I have them, they're great entertainment factors.
What about the expectation of other people? One of the fears that I have, I think to myself, if I could do this whole thing secretly, it would be better because because I don't want to start raising other people's expectations.
That's right,
like my mother or friends or whatever, or family.
This is another key issue because as I did a little bit of reading on the restoration of eyesight that had been documented in years past, those people that didn't have a successful experience were expecting a lot more than they got. And they got frustrated and depressed and bad things happen.
If I was to get my eyesight back, it's very hard to describe what that means for me. I suppose to a sighted person, it's like winning a lotto. It's like being cured of cancer. That's the only thing that I can describe it as. You know, I would be absolutely elated, absolutely over the moon. I'm sure it'd be a highly charged, highly emotional situation for me to walk out of a hospital ward and see me two children. And in many ways,
when I think about it every day of my life, I would love to see my children. Christmas morning, I'm sure that any parent would agree that one of the greatest pleasures is when Santa has arrived. The smile on their face, that sort of magical look that they have about them. And blindness has denied me that. I would do absolutely anything to have my eyesight back. But I've got to go into this, if you pardon the pun, with my eyes open. Because if I don't, then I would be worried that it could set me back to a point where I have never been before. Well, what I have in my hand here is a rubber bullet, and what's different about this rubber bullet is it's the rubber bullet that actually shot me. So, and it's very hard to explain really why I would want to keep the rubber bullet that shot me, but in some ways, it's a part of me. You know, it's the thing or the item that took away my eyesight. But I don't have any sort of sense of get it away or revulsion or anything. It's just almost like it's a piece of memorabilia that's almost part of my life now. And I would rather have it than not have it. And that might sound strange, but I would rather have it than not have it.
The identity of the man who fired that rubber bullet has occupied Richard's imagination for 34 years. Just when hopes were fading that Richard would ever find the soldier, the private investigator believes he has located him. Richard has had to live with only half the picture of that day in 1972. The man who can complete that picture lives in Scotland. His name is Charles.
Well, I haven't and never knew the name of the soldier that shot me. I've just used the phrase, the soldier that shot me. It's a very abstract and means very little, really. You know, it's a kind of a remote term when you talk about the soldier that shot me. There was nothing personal about it until I got the name of the soldier. And to me, it was the first link on completing the circle. I felt quite emotional about it, but I don't know why. And then I felt nervous about it as well. Like I had nerves in my stomach and stuff when I thought about him, because to me now I'm very close to meeting him.
Dear Charles, I realize that this letter may come as a shock to you. However, I sincerely hope that you will give it your utmost consideration. 33 years ago, I think I met you the first time period. As you are probably aware by now, not only from the first 2 paragraphs of this letter, but from the person who so kindly has delivered it into your hand, it is my understanding that you are the soldier that fired the rubber bullet. I genuinely have no concept of how a letter like this would impact on you. I would like to reassure you that it is not my aim or motive to make you feel bad or guilty in any way. Also, I would like you to know that you have absolutely nothing to fear from me. Thanks for reading this letter.
I don't know if it's a weight off my mind as much as, you know, it's a step that I never thought I would be taking. So, writing to the soldier, and I don't feel like a relief or anything, in the sense that it's a relief to write the letter now that I've decided to write it, and it was a relief to get it done. It's an opportunity for him to meet me, and it's an opportunity for me to meet him, so I don't want to spoil it by making the letter very negative or anything like that, because that's not how I feel about it. It's not a negative process.
There is blindness and there is darkness, and they are not necessarily the same thing. I have avoided living in darkness by not being consumed by anger towards the soldier who changed my life. But this quest to have my eyesight restored is asking me to take a step into that darkness.
If Richard is ever to get his eyesight back, the answers lie in America. The home of cutting-edge research into artificial vision.
Vision is something we find very easy and automatic. We don't think of it as something we had to learn, like language. But in fact, babies have to learn vision. They have to learn how to make sense of the visual world. And most of that happens within the first 3 years of life. What scientists have learned over the last 50 years is that the effects of losing vision depend hugely on when you lost your vision. So, for example, children with amblyopia who've lost their sight for a few years early in life never regain perfect vision. Whereas if you lose your sight later in life, your chances of regaining perfect vision are much, much better. If someone like Richard was to have his sight restored, it would probably be done through a cortical implant. The sort of sight he would get will probably look very strange and unnatural, pixelated, maybe flickering, and his brain is going to have to learn to make use of that very novel information. There's also the emotional aspect of vision. Being able to look at an art gallery or recognize someone's face, that very natural, the beauty of the world. And I think it will be a long time before implants are good enough that they really will give someone who is implanted a sense of the beauty of the visual world. I think that we've got a long way to go before that will happen.
Artificial vision involves fitting patients with a camera in place of the eye, from which visual signals are sent to a computer for decoding. These vision signals are then transmitted to a tiny metal electrode, which sits on the surface of the brain, stimulating the neurons of the visual cortex. This complicated procedure involves invasive brain surgery. The University of Utah in Salt Lake City houses one of the world's leading artificial vision projects. Their pioneering Utah electrode array could be Richard's only chance of a future with vision.
A number of people are working on a variety of approaches to restoring sight to those who've lost sight.
Yeah.
People are working in the retina, people are working in the optic nerve, and people are working in visual cortex. The approach that we've chosen here at the University of Utah is to focus on visual cortex. And in your particular situation, where you've lost vision through trauma, this probably is the only approach that could work in your situation and people like you.
Dick, in your opinion, what sort of vision do you think that I could expect?
It will be extremely limited. The first generation artificial vision systems would be relatively primitive forms of vision. Black and white images, crude images. At best, they would allow you to recognize objects in front of you, but they might look slightly distorted or warped or slightly bizarre.
Realistically, Dick, what's the time scale of your project?
The time frame for this, I would love to say, is 6 months. Unfortunately, I can't quite say 6 months. There's a lot of work to be done. It could be as fast, maybe as 5 years, but more realistically, it's going to be maybe something like 7 years. Yeah. So it's much as I'd like to say it's going to happen in 6 months to a year, yeah. The reality is it's going to take about that long.
There is sight and there is vision. I'm disappointed by the limits of the surgery I can have, but I'm fascinated too by what the technology has revealed. The eyes see, but it's the brain that translates it into vision, into meaning and beauty and sense. I still may have a chance to get back some of what I lost when I was 10. But by having some sight restored, I am afraid that I might lose my vision of the world.
I see that we're up in a very high position overlooking Salt Lake City. That's what I see. I see the whole valley as fairly rugged, really. I don't see it as overdeveloped or even a lot of trees or stuff like that. I would incline to see it as something like maybe, you know, trees or bushes, but all very spread out. I also think I can see for miles. Like, I would imagine, well, my vision anyway, I see maybe 50 miles or more away in the distance. I also think there's a bit of ice or snow about as well, because it's very cold and very windy, and I feel as if I'm very, very high up, because I even heard small aeroplanes earlier on, and this noise doesn't seem to be higher than me, so the small aeroplanes seem to be almost at the same level I'm at, if not lower. And the freight trains put a great colour on it for me. The wind, you know, sometimes blurs the picture. It's very windy, and that to me blurs my vision, because you can't hear as much when the wind's blowing, or can't hear as well. I would also have that momentary thing that I always talk about, where I wish I could really see it. And I always have that momentary thing as well. But again, as I always say, it comes and it goes very quickly. And then I relax back into who I am and what I can see.
Féile, go flight 118 at the Lima.
118, lost my star, wind 24017, runway 25 left, clear land.
Clear land 25 left, go flight 118.
Richard is now on the final leg of his journey and has come to Toronto to meet a man called Jens Neumann.
American 2445, hold short, runway 25 right, 1 departure.
When he was 17, a metal splinter robbed Jens of sight in one eye. 3 years later, fate dealt him the cruelest blow when he lost the sight of his remaining eye in a further freak accident. 20 years on, Jens is one of the few people in the world to have undergone an artificial vision operation by the original pioneer of the technology, Dr. William Dobell. Like something from the realms of science fiction, Jens is equipped with an external device similar to a camera, which he literally plugs into his brain. When not using the system, Jens can successfully navigate his entire 2-acre property. He even built his own solar-powered electricity generator.
April 8th was my operation. On April 17th, I came back here with a big headache. The headache was awful, but man, it was all for seeing, right? It was all for getting back on that motorcycle, all for getting back into the real world. I didn't expect to be able to ride the motorcycle with the first operation, but I did expect to see enough to change my life.
The minute you got some kind of vision.
Yes, from this artificial vision?
Yeah, could you maybe help explain how that felt and what happened?
I expected, I'll tell you first what I expected. I expected to throw a switch and bingo, there was the world in front of me. They threw the switch and all I could see was this blinding flash of light.
It was very disappointing.
Yes, it was. And at the same time, Richard, the thing that really got me about this was you could see light. For some reason, that cheered me up so much out of a depression, out of this long, long darkness, like somebody taking the bag off one's head.
All right, I'm going to show you, Richard, how I put this stuff on, okay?
Yeah.
I'm just going to pick up my the pouch here that I had shown you, because that, of course, holds all the junk.
Despite Jens's initial enthusiasm at the prospect of life with limited vision, within a year, his world would once again be plunged into darkness.
Secure, because you don't want to drop this when it's attached to your head.
Oh, you're right. And straps up round, is that right?
Yes, there's those straps there, just like...
Just at the start of year 2003, I went to Portugal to demonstrate the system in front of a large contingency of media, and I started to see fewer and fewer of the dots that made up the picture. We tried readjusting the system, but that didn't help. And by the end of January, start of February, I couldn't see any of the dots. And that was very disappointing.
We have that hooked up. What remains now is the big cables that go from the computer to the head. Okay.
It's very sad because Bill died in October last year. And now there's nobody who wants to lead the company.
In fact, what I'm going to do is let you feel with your one hand, right here my hands are, on my top of my head.
Yeah.
That is what the jack looks like with the cap off.
That's sad for us because we have the system in our heads, but it's also sad for the people who are blind that might want to see. This system works. It doesn't work perfect. It needs more research.
Now I will take the cover off. And hopefully, with both screws out, my head won't fall off. As my son would have said.
It could still be offered on a temporary basis to those people who are suffering from the depression of not seeing anything. there is a solution, but right now it's hung up in red tape. Okay, would you like to take me by the arm and my arm right arm here?
Yeah.
And what I'm going to do is, okay, I can see there's a chair in front of me here. I got to move that out of the way.
So could you actually see that chair?
Well, it just looked like something was going to be there, so I'm being very careful here. Oh, I can see something right in front of me. Bright lights I can see, but I don't know what it is. Okay, so it is the firewood pile.
Yeah.
That is interesting that we actually could see that. This is actually the firewood where it's piled. Like this is all a big pile of firewood here, and we actually saw that.
Because you didn't seem to see that block until we were nearly on top of it.
That's right, and that's happened because it blocked the sun as we got close to it, right?
Meeting Jens today, I didn't know what to expect, but the experience was kind of surreal in a way, because I knew how difficult he was fighting blindness, and I knew how much I wanted eyesight back. It was a wake-up call for me, I think. At one stage I felt I would love to reach out to him and say, look, blindness is not such a terrible thing. Just run with it and give it a go, and you might discover that this whole quest could be put into perspective. And maybe Jens hasn't done that. And he's got so much to offer. Such a brilliant person talking, and to be left high and dry the way he was, I would hope that that would never happen to me, and I wouldn't allow that to happen to me.
Dear Richard, I very much welcome receiving your letter. I must say I was certainly a little surprised, as I never knew you wished to meet me. I had hoped to reply a little earlier, but various recent events and a number of attempts at trying to produce exactly what I wanted to say by way of response has resulted in this delay. I suggest that as you are happy to travel, we get together in Edinburgh sometime in mid to late November. As we are both aware, 1972 was certainly an extremely violent time in Northern Ireland. However, I eventually fired a rubber bullet, and you were tragically the recipient. I believe that the action I took was justified. However, as soon as I found out how seriously you were injured, I felt deep shock, great regret, and great sadness. And had I had the luxury of knowing what the outcome was to be, I most certainly would not have fired.
I'm nervous about it. I'm anxious about it. I'm looking forward to it. And in some ways I'm afraid of it as well. I don't want to be confrontational. It's not what it's about. It's about building bridges. It's about in some way
him and I coming out of this, you know, seeing the human being, seeing the person behind what happened.
Richard and the soldier have agreed that, with so much at stake, the meeting should be held in private.
The reason why I'm meeting the soldier is very personal. Not personal to the point where it's a secret, it's just personal in the sense that it's, you know, it's something that's valuable to me. I have to say the whole process, and particularly the last 2 days, has been a surreal experience for me because, you know, I'm going to meet somebody that has been almost a figment of my imagination for the last 34 years. I'm conscious of the wider picture around me, you know, my daddy, my mommy, my brothers, my sisters. As well as representing myself, I feel I'm representing them. And, you know, when I left the house this morning, it was the strangest feeling because although I'm probably, you know, going on a reasonably short journey to Edinburgh, I feel as if I'm going on the longest journey of my life.
My name is Florence Moore. I'm Richard's mother. I'll never forget that day. It was just like the end of the world. The end of the world. My God. I'll never forget it. I thought Justy was blind and that was the end of him. Like it was, I talked about him like as if it was a death. The world had just ended for me because I had seen no future. Richard, I thought, was useless. He was blind. What is he going to do? What trade would I put him to? What would I do with him? I just felt one day I was coming down Broadway and I met this woman going up and I said to her, you know what I just want to do today? She says, I want to take Richard and Kevin because they're the only ones that depend on me, the rest of them married and away. And I says, just throw them in and jump on myself to the tide. That's what I felt like that day. And she says, oh dear, Mrs. Byrne, don't do that. I cried night and day. Night and day. Every time I looked at him, I cried. If he had been, I think if he had his foot had been off his leg, it wouldn't have been so bad as long as he could see me.
The actual impact on my mother was horrendous. I think that she basically had a mental breakdown. I can remember lying in my bed at night and waking up with my mother not realising I was awake and her kneeling beside my bed. And she was literally broken-hearted and crying to God about, you know, I remember saying, like, he's only a 10-year-old boy.
please give me his eyesight back. And she wasn't doing that in a cool, calm fashion, and I'm doing it now. She was desperate. She was desperate. I'm told that he stood in the street and cried. And I don't think that I've ever seen my daddy crying. Still, you know, he's dead now, and I've never seen him crying in my lifetime, or when he was alive. So, for him, it must have been very difficult.
My husband was a quiet man, a very good man. But, I mean, he kept it all in, where I could cry, but he didn't. But he kept it all in, and I think that done him more harm than good. Richard was his whole world. What would become him, what would he do, and would ever be anything, would he be ever anything, come to anything? I just finished him. I think if the father had been living today, he'd been very happy. To see Richard, how he's got on, and his wife and family and all, like, I think he'd be very happy.
In Edinburgh, the meeting that Richard waited for 34 years to happen has finished. Richard and the soldier talked for almost 4 hours.
I liked him. I liked him. And I feel that I got friendly with him. And I was very happy in his company. I feel that he understands me. I think that he understood the hurts that I've come through and that my family's come through. I think he understands that. One of the things I talked about this morning coming up is the humanisation of the situation and just get to know the personality. It's, for me, I have to be honest and say, it was a fantastic experience. Now, the surreal end of it, well, it is unreal. I was sitting with a British soldier that blinded me for the rest of my life, and all the things that come with that. You know, the times in my life when I would love to have been able to see. You know, when Neve and Enya made their first communions and confirmations, when they acted in the first school play, when they were all dressed up in their wee first communion dresses and looking lovely, and I couldn't see them. But at the same time, there I was sitting with a guy that you know, was the person that brought that situation about. And surreal in the fact that I was happy with that situation. People ask me, like, why I'm not angry, why I'm not bitter. I don't know. Sometimes I'm just not. And I'm glad I'm not, because I'm very happy because of it. And today, I'm really, really glad that I met that guy. Today brought closure. There's no more mystique. There's no more mystery. There's no shadows now about my blindness. I will meet this guy again.
It has been a remarkable 3 years for Richard. He has explored and dismissed the possibility of getting his eyesight back. And after 34 years, that 10-year-old boy finally faced again the soldier that took his sight and gave him blindness. the blindness that today Richard regards as a gift.
The phone's out of range, would you believe that? When I talk about blindness being a gift, I suppose what I'm really saying is, first of all, I have embraced blindness. I haven't treated it as some terrible thing and some awful affliction that I've got. I have accepted it, took it on board, and in many ways I use it to my advantage. I believe that being blind, in the manner with which I was blinded, has made me the person that I am, and I've said that a couple of times already. And what I mean by that in this context is that I think that I am involved in the work that I'm doing with children's issues and all that sort of stuff as a direct result of my experience. As well as that, when I stood in a village in Africa for the first time, in a village where there was no running water, no electricity, a lot of sickness, a lot of hunger, and I met the smiling faces and the jolly atmosphere of the people out there, I remember thinking to myself, if being shot was for me to experience this, then it was all worth it. With all that's happened to me, I've had a brilliant life. I've had opportunities. The young people in many of the countries that I'm talking about might have their eyesight, but they'd have nothing in comparison to what I have. Oh, hello, Charles. How you doing? Good to see you again.
See you.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm
Hey?
all right, actually.
Thanks for coming up to see me.
Not quite as warm as the last time we were together.
And of all the days in the year, we have to
I
pick
know.
for an outside dinner. I'm not sure where me and the soldier's going to go from here. I mean, I've met him, and met his wife and that as well, and had dinner at his house and stuff, and you know, and we've built a level of relationship.
Now we've got the bridge over here, and then on the right here we've got the old railway bridge, which has been there far longer.
I'm unclear myself at this stage of where the relationship between me and the soldier is going to go. You know, once we move beyond talking about the 4th of May 1972.
We're almost at the edge. Now, very carefully now, because we're almost there.
I would like the relationship to continue. It's been a great journey for me.
And then we're right at the edge, so don't go any further forward. No, you're right at the edge there.